Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official one and only 5-Star Revolution podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel right now if you haven't already, and go over to our Facebook page, 5-Star Revolution Podcast, for your chance to win a $200 Visa gift card. So get to it. Share the page. If we reach 1,000 likes, one lucky winner would win a $200 Visa gift card. And tonight we have a very special guest. His name is Johnny OMara. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. So, my first question for you is, were you a fan growing up?
Oh yeah, I've my dad watched growing up, so I've been watching since before I can even remember. Yeah, I've been a fan my whole life. I've always loved the business.
Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
When I was real young, definitely Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, and as I got a little older, started getting more into the smaller guys. WCW started bringing in from Japan and Mexico. Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho, all those guys.
So you are a WCW guy?
I was both, but I got pulled more into the WCW realm just because, like I said, when they started bringing in those smaller guys from Japan and Mexico, it was people that I could more identify with. I've never been a huge guy, so.
So how'd you get your start into the professional wrestling business?
I tried several times over the years. There was a local promotion here where I live, and it didn't work out, and I wound up moving across the country a few times. And I moved back here to North Texas and had decided to get my family into it. I hadn't really taken them to much. They'd seen it on TV, but I had never taken them to any of the local shows. So there's a local show here where we live. Took them to that. Just happened to mention, hey, this is something that I've always been interested in. It'd be really cool to get involved in it. And my ex-wife at the time told me, I've got a friend, a guy that comes into work, him and his son are wrestlers. And he was telling me they're talking about starting their own promotion. So she put me in contact with them. I reached out and kind of told them, I'd love to start doing this. I heard you guys are trying to get a new promotion going. They said, yeah, come on. And then, went out the next week or so and started training. And it was 3 or 4 days in the ring for the next 2 years after that.
So who'd you train with? Who did you initially start training with?
Ashton Jacobs, Pride and Glory Professional Wrestling.
All right. And do you remember your first match?
Yes, it was against my trainer, Ashton. We put together like a 16 or 17-minute match, and it was insane to try to do.
Did you learn anything from that match?
Oh yeah, I learned a ton. We had done practice matches and training, go over spots, things like that. Yeah, to get out and go in front of a crowd was completely different. Just the way everything feels is different. The way you move is different. It was a huge learning experience, and I was only 5 months in the business at that time that I've been training. But yeah, it was an awakening for sure.
So for those people, those critics that think wrestling's fake, what do you have to say to them?
I hate the word fake. I've had nothing major, but I've had some minor injuries. I've had a lot of good friends that have had major and minor injuries. What we do is absolutely real. Yeah, we know, who's going to win, who's going to lose. The storylines are scripted and all of that, but it takes a lot of time to be able to control your body and to teach your body to deal with doing the things that we do in the ring. A lot of guys will compare it to a car crash. You're putting yourself through a car crash 2, 3, 4 times a week to do this thing that we love to do. There's nothing fake about it.
I read somewhere that it's an equivalent to a 40-mile-an-hour car crash every time you take a bump.
That sounds about right,
yeah. So when you debut for a new promotion, do you try to have the best match on the card, or do you just take it all in, absorb everything, and just go from there?
Generally, the way I try to do things is I try to have the match that the show needs me to have. I don't need to be that person that needs to go out there and try to do everything that I know how to do, or try to do the biggest spot or the biggest anything like that. To me, every match tells a story, but every show from start to finish should tell a story as well. And just like I want to tell the story I want to tell for my match, I want to help the show tell the story that show is supposed to tell.
For those fans who don't know your character, Johnny OMara or OMara, right? OMara?
OMara.
OMara. Sorry.
OMara.
Okay. And for those fans who don't know what your character is about, you mind explaining a little bit about your character?
It's just it's Celtic punk rock. I'm Irish heritage, and growing up, I got into the punk scene and have been in the punk scene since I was probably 13, 14 years old. And so when I got into wrestling, I started out trying to do, character, this and that, and just I'd real quickly get to where I just didn't feel like I could go much further with it. So I just decided, take myself, turn the volume way up, be who I am, and just, turn those limits off, turn the filter off, and yeah, just be that Celtic punk rock, fighter.
So what do you like doing better, heel or face?
I like being a babyface. It's a little more fun to me. I like being a heel too. I don't mind doing either one. Babyface is it's always been more fun for me, and it's super easy with my character. My entrance music gets people going. I come out high energy, head banging, dancing around. People get way into it, and for whatever reason, the drunken Irish punk rock brawler kids seem to love it, and I love getting that reaction out of those kids, and having them come up to me, high five me during the shows, and that's being because I look at those kids and I see me when I was 5 and 6 years old going to the shows, and seeing them get that joy that I got 30 years ago. I love that.
So how do you try to connect with the crowd as a babyface? How do you get the fans involved into the match?
Involved in the match, I just try to bring my selling in as much as I can. I try to bring in fan interaction as I'm wrestling. I try to take my time, and I take those in between character moments to really speak directly to the fans, to give them someone to connect with.
Very good answer. So if you had one dream opponent, anyone in the business, who would it be and why?
Dream opponent. Right now, I'd probably have to say Tommy End, Malachi Black, Aleister Black. I love his style. I love the way he puts things together. And I love the way he works in the ring. It'd be a dream to be able to just get in the ring and experience that with him and learn from him and have that experience.
I love his wrestling. I love his wrestling style, man. He's a great wrestler, phenomenal character. And what would you say your wrestling style is nowadays?
Sort of a technical brawler. I come from a martial arts background, so I use striking. I've got some legit wrestling background, so I'll use that, and then some traditional wrestling as well.
And what would you say some of the highlights of your career is thus far?
Gotten to wrestle with some of the best guys from big names that have been on a national stage. I've wrestled Charlie Haas, which was an honor. I learned a ton working with him. Guys that are, huge names here in Texas. Just getting to work with those guys. And I love doing that. I love getting the opportunity to be in the ring with those guys.
So obviously you've been in the backstage with legends in the business. You mind sharing any names and what you learned from them?
Like I said, Charlie Haas is probably the biggest one that I've gotten to share the locker room in the ring with. I've gotten to do seminars and other things with guys like Rhino, which was an amazing experience. And a lot of there's a lot of flavor to the guys. Different guys will give you different opinions, different things, because everyone kind of has to make their own way in the business. But yeah, the big things that you get from a lot of the guys is less is more, slow down, be the character. That's really what it's all about. We've gotten to a point in wrestling now where you do have some guys that can do things other people can't do. Obviously Ospreay, Ricochet. On the technical side, you've got guys like Jonathan Gresham. But for most of your guys, pretty much everyone can do most of the moves. So it's not a move business anymore. It's a character business. And that's what a lot of those guys really try to teach the new generation coming up, is learn to be that character, because that's what makes you marketable. That's what makes your connection with the fans. That's what really makes the show. And when you can make the show with your character, that's what's going to make you money and take you somewhere in the business.
What's your take on intergender wrestling, and would you take part?
I think if it's done right, it can be good. I've seen it done right and I've seen it done wrong. I have no problem with it at all. I've never had a singles intergender match, but I've done battle royals, gauntlet matches, multi-person matches that have been intergender. And like I said, if it's done right, they can come across just as well as any other match. I see no problem with it at all if it's done right.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Beyond Wrestling, but they do a lot of intergender matches, and they're phenomenal, man. Some of those ladies on that card blows my mind. One female that comes to mind is that one from Impact Wrestling, the bodybuilder. I forgot her name.
Jordan Grace?
Yes, Jordan Grace. Sorry, my
Yeah.
mind's like out of this world right now. But
She
Jordan
is
Grace is
phenomenally talented.
yes, man, and she's wrestled a lot of male wrestlers, and it really impresses me.
Yeah.
So what do you think it takes to make it to the big stage?
It depends on what you're calling the big stage anymore. WWE, it's all just, what they happen to be looking for at that time. I've known guys that have gone for tryout after tryout after tryout, and it took them 3-4 times to make it. Other guys go in, knock it out in one. It's people that are, some of the most technically talented people in the world try over and over and over again before they make it. And then you get other people that are, maybe not the best wrestlers, not the best characters. So that's, WWE just kind of seems to be what they're looking for when you're there. If you're what they're looking for that day, then you're good. If you're not, then try again later. AEW seems to be a lot more, learning your craft, being that. It really all usually goes back to learn your character, learn how to connect with fans, get people emotionally invested in you as a character and what you do in the ring, and give them that experience that they're showing up for.
So piggybacking on that, do you think it takes a lot of sacrifices in life in order to be successful in this business?
Generally speaking, absolutely. Obviously, there's exception to every rule, but yeah, when you talk to the guys that have made it a long way, yeah, there's always stories of sacrifice, traveling, 14, 15 hours for $20, sleeping in your car, having to put 6 or 8 people in a 1-bedroom hotel room so you can afford it, missing family events, missing birthdays, missing all those things. And it doesn't change when you make it to the big time, especially like, with the schedule WWE works. If you're on the road, you're on the road, so you miss all those things. And yeah, it absolutely, I think, takes that to get to an elite level of this business.
So are you willing to do those things to make it big?
To a certain extent, yes. I've got a good legitimate career as well, so I'm not quite as willing to make as many sacrifices as some of my friends are willing to make, just because, I've got more to lose than some of those guys do as far as my day-to-day life. Like I said, I take the time off that I can. I travel when I can. The getting on the road and 14-hour drives and all that stuff doesn't bother me. But I can't take a week off to go here or go there. I've got to work my job. I've got to take care of the things I need to take care of.
So when you do those long drives and you show up to a show, there's only 20, 30 people in the crowd. Are you disappointed? And how do you perform on those shows?
It's a little disheartening, but I try to perform the same whether there's 3 people or 300. And I got a little bit of experience with that over the past year and a half or so with everything. I've done a few shows with no crowd, where it was just production, pre-tape, and it would be, the 10 or 12 wrestlers that were working on the show, and then the camera and production people, and you're working 100%, to the cameras.
I 100% agree with you there because you never know who's watching.
Exactly, and honestly, it was a struggle at first, but I do somewhat look at it as a blessing because I did have to learn to play to those cameras more and learn more of a TV style. Because when you make it to WWE, AEW, places like that, especially when you're doing their televised product, the television product is what you are performing for. They have the live audiences, obviously, and you do want to play to them and you'll feed off them. But the main focus of those shows is that television audience. So you do want to play to your cameras. You do want to know where your cameras are and pay attention and get with your production people and know how all of those things work. So when you make it to that stage, you already know how to work somewhat of a television style.
Good answer. How do you deal with backstage politics?
I generally avoid it. I'm not. I try to be friendly and respectful to everyone, but I don't try to get involved in the politics. I let my work speak for myself. I be the person I was raised to be backstage, the person I am every day. I was raised, you treat the janitor with the same respect you treat the CEO, and I take that with me backstage, and I let those things speak for itself.
So what's going through your head before a match, before you step through that curtain? What's going through your head?
Generally, I'll go over the match in my head a few times, just try to make sure I've got everything down. I know where we're trying to put everything. I know what story we're trying to tell. But I really don't turn on too much until my music hits. I'll kind of get ready, get loosened up, move around, get stretched out. But it's when I hear my music start, that's when Johnny really turns on, and then it's all just it's performance from there. It's go in and give the fans what they're there to they paid to see.
So what do you do when your scheduled opponent suddenly changes? Because that happens. Cars subject to change.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That doesn't bother me too much. I generally try not to plan out too much ahead of time, anyways. Because I've had experiences where I'll get to the show and find out when I get there, oh yeah, the guy you're supposed to wrestle can't make it, this or that. So this is changing, that's changing. So I don't want to have too much planned ahead of time, anyways. Or even if it's the guy I'm working with is going to be there, but it's Saturday night, he wrestled Friday night, he tweaked this or hurt himself this way, so we've got to cater to this injury, or we can't do this. And I'm even the type of person, I try to pay attention to the matches before me because I don't want to do the same things that the guys before me are doing. So I try to be adaptable and be ready to change things, with a few minutes notice because I've had to do that before.
So besides WWE and AEW, are there any other promotions that you have your eyes on that you want to wrestle for?
Ring of Honor would be amazing because a lot of my inspiration came from the old school guys back there. Guys that are legit names now, made a lot of their splash in Ring of Honor, and I remember watching those guys. New Japan would also be a huge honor to perform for. Impact would be, any of the big names, any place to get a bigger audience, a bigger exposure would be great.
So what are you looking to get out of this business? What are you looking to get out of wrestling?
Really, I just, I love the performance. I was a theater kid in high school, and like I said, I love the business growing up. Honestly, if what I'm doing now is all I ever do in the business, I'm perfectly happy. Just getting to get out there and perform and tell the stories I like to tell, have the kind of matches I like to have. I didn't get into the business until I was 32 years old. It's just the fact that I'm able to do it and be respected in this business on any level has been plenty for me.
Do you have any funny road stories that you mind sharing with us?
I don't really have much in the way of road stories. I usually travel by myself. I don't do a lot of traveling with a lot of the other guys. And I haven't done a ton of distance traveling anyways. I try to stay pretty local for the most part. I'm thinking about starting to try to reach out and travel around some more. I've been, some distance travels here in Texas, but I haven't really got out of the state much. Like I said, I generally, like I said, I'll travel by myself. I work the show, grab something to eat, and usually either crash or turn around and head home. I don't get too much involved with a lot of the wild stuff that goes on.
Have you had any serious injuries or lingering injuries going on?
Uh, I've tweaked my shoulder. That comes back every few months now. If I take a funny bump or do something weird, that'll kind of come back off and on. But other than that, I've been real lucky. I try to do a pretty good job of protecting myself, even when I'm doing big crazy spots or dangerous bumps. So I've been real lucky. Most of it's just been more hurt than injured. I've been kicked in the face a bunch of times, punched in the face a bunch of times, but never anything too serious other than minor little tweaks, bruises. I've broken my pinky a couple of times, but yeah, other than that, it's usually just like cuts, scrapes, bruises, stuff like that. Nothing too major, fortunately.
When I used to wrestle, man, I broke my ankle, and I also had 2 concussions in wrestling, and the concussions are the worst, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of friends that have had some pretty major concussions. I've had
Yeah.
several friends come out of the ring, and a couple minutes out of the ring, they're like, "How'd it go?" What do you mean, how'd it go? Man, I took this move, and I felt the impact, and then I woke up back here. Yeah, I've been real lucky to avoid those, but yeah, I've definitely seen it happen several times. Yeah, it's no joke.
So, what would you say is the hardest part of being a pro wrestler?
I think the hardest part is learning to kind of be selfless and selfish at the same time. It's a weird space to occupy to be able to be really, really good in this business. I think you have to be able to be both. You've got to be able to take care of yourself. You've got to, promote yourself, put yourself forward. You've got to be pushing yourself to get to those spots in the business, but also, you don't want to step on people the wrong way, because it's like the saying goes, every neck you step on the way up is an ass you're going to have to kiss on the way down. So you need to be selfish enough to promote yourself and to put yourself in the places you need to be, but you don't want to be completely cutthroat and just screwing over everyone that you ever get near, because eventually no one's going to want to work with you. And it's the same thing in the ring. That's the backstage stuff. In the ring's the same way. You need to be able to put yourself out there in a way and have matches that showcase what you can do. But you've also got to take care of that guy across the ring from you. You're putting your life in his hands, and he's putting his life in yours. And you always want that reputation of someone that's going to take care of whoever they get in the ring with.
Big fact, my friend. So, what can we expect out of you in the next 3 years?
Hopefully more traveling, more great matches, getting to work with people that want to put on those great matches, and yeah, just trying to get some traveling, get some more exposure, and keep enjoying the business and keep entertaining fans.
Okay. So, 2 more questions for me.
All right.
If you can change one thing in professional wrestling, what would it be?
One thing in professional wrestling. I think it'd have to be the politics. Like I said, I stay out of it for the most part, but I see how it affects a lot of people. Yeah, especially now, mental health is such an important thing that's finally getting destigmatized. And, I've seen the way people get treated backstage, people that are good people, that maybe aren't the most athletic or the most, even just socially capable. I've seen them put in situations and be treated in a way that people don't deserve to be treated just because they're a little different or they don't operate the same way as other people do. So I'd love to see that change and have people actually, show the respect that everyone deserves until, that person shows they don't deserve it. Just because someone's a little different doesn't mean they need to be treated shitty.
I definitely agree, man. Backstage politics, especially in indie wrestling, don't serve a purpose. WWE, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, places like that, I can see why there's politics. But if you're a part of a indie fed with, fans that are 100 people and 30 wrestlers, backstage politics don't serve a purpose. But hey,
Exactly.
who am I? So, last question for me is if no, I already asked you that. I already asked you about your favorite wrestler, right? Okay. Would you say wrestling has changed your life? If so, how?
Uh, it absolutely has. I've made connections with people that, I never would have met otherwise, that have influenced me in ways that, have made me a better person. He said, mental health has always been important to me, but there's a guy based here out of DFW area, Jackson Stone. He is also a mental health advocate. You are loved. And seeing the things that he does has influenced me to be more willing to talk about mental health and help, in just my own small little way, help him with his mission of destigmatizing all of that. There are several people pushing for those types of things in this business, especially in the DFW area, and getting to meet and work with those people has been amazing for me. I've loved getting to be around those guys.
And would you like to plug any of your social media or any of your shows that you're going to be on in the next few weeks or months?
Black Rose Johnny on everything. Johnny OMara on Facebook. Black Rose Johnny, Twitter, Instagram. The main thing I'm doing right now is pretty much my home promotion, MPX, Metroplex Wrestling, based out of Bedford, Texas. We run every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Live shows, and we also have a live streaming service and a network with back catalog. That's the main place to find me right now. That's pretty much home for me right now. And our biggest show of the year is actually this Saturday night.
Well, I wish you luck with that. I wish you luck with your career, Mr. Johnny OMara. Thank you so much for joining us here on the 5-Star Revolution podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, 5-Star Revolution Podcast, and go over to Facebook right now for your chance to win a $200 Visa gift card if we reach 1,000 likes. We're almost halfway there, so get to it. You have a great night, sir.
You do the same. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.